experts know that predicting the weather is no easy gig, but do groundhogs have a spotty record? February 2nd, the furry prognosticators that see their shadows and head back into their burrows will herald 6 weeks of more cold weather. If not, it's the proclamation of an early spring. But we want to break down the roots of Groundhog Day. How did this all start? It had a basis in medieval Europe, correct?
Yeah, it goes back to a couple different locations, both Scotland and Germany. It all stemmed around a holiday called Candlemas on February 2nd. It's kind of just a midway point through the winter, something to kind of give a little more energy, and they just decided to tie some rodents into it.
And they used the weather patterns of the time to predict whether or not there would be a continuation of winter. Did the rodents carry on when some of these European settlers came to North America?
Well, they kept using rodents, but that's when they switched to the groundhogs. When they were still in Europe, the Scottish and the English, they used hedgehogs, and then in Germany, they used badgers. So when they came to Pennsylvania initially, the indigenous groundhogs to western Pennsylvania, that's where Punxsutawney Phil started, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, that original Punxsutawney Phil was 1888, and boy did it ever snowball. Of course, the scene for the 80s cult classic starring Bill Murray, Groundhog Day, where a bitter weather anchor wants to have the shine back that the groundhog has taken. But in all fairness, I think it should be humans predicting the long-range forecast, not the rodents. There's not much accuracy with our cast behind us, is there?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would say we don't have much accuracy either, but I think we can do a little better than someone who's been spending 3 months having a nap and then just pops his head out to see what the next 6 weeks is going to look like. But anyone from Balzac Billy in Alberta to Punxsutawney Phil to Manitoba Merv, Wyerton Willie, everyone's kind of aiming for the best accuracy. It's almost like a sports league. We're always getting expansions, new teams coming in, maybe not quite as accurate at first, but there's always going to be the originals.
So is there any basis on actual science here? A little bit of cloud cover, covering parts of Nova Scotia or parts of Wyerton or parts of Pennsylvania just on 1 hour of one day doesn't have a lot of basis in actual science to forecast for the next 6 weeks, does it?
Yeah, it all comes down to really the weather the morning of February 2nd. So yes, there could be some trends in those climate areas, a lot of fog and cloud along the Pacific coast. But yeah, it looks like statistically Nova Scotia has the best record to rely on. And Wyerton Willie, he's got to pick up the slack, I think.
Let's talk about the fact that this is really the only true, well, holiday you can call it, that is for weather. We need one, Kevin.
Yeah, they're bringing up all the late winter holidays. You get Groundhog Day, now we have Family Day. Any reason to have a little excitement and enjoyment in the latter days of winter.
Wyerton, for instance, was started with a party that wanted to get thrown, and the media got invited, and a hat was thrown on the snow, a furry hat with a button on it. That was the first, well, true Wyerton Willie celebration around 1956, and look how it's grown.
Yeah, well, I don't think a lot of people have heard of Wyerton or been to Wyerton, but I bet if you have heard of it, you've heard of it because of Wyerton Willie. And it doesn't matter what time of year you go up there, they have their little enclosure down by the water. It's actually a pretty nice place to visit in the summertime.
And in the end, for me anyways, Groundhog Day all across the continent is a way to bring people out in the dead of winter, celebrate the coming and the hope of spring, and socialize in the cold, dreary months.